I am angry, and I hope people don't all think like this, but I want to share. We put out an ad for a therapist at our outpatient program, and we got this response, and I'm going to read it to both of you and then get your reaction, and I think you'll understand why I'm angry. No one, and I mean no one, forced these people to do drugs. It was their choice. They loved it. They committed crimes to make the next high possible. They cost the economy millions in theft, robbery, fraud-related costs. We should let them suffer to the bitter and hopefully dead end. No one cares that they need to feel comfortable. Their lives should be under bridges or in the woods. No running water, no food, no toilet, sleeping in dirty sleeping bags. Only weak minds do drugs.
Wow.
You have tears in your eyes. You understand why I'm angry?
Yeah.
I mean, I want to welcome everybody to another podcast of Odyssey House Journals. I'm Randall Carlisle, your host. Nicole Slack is the co-host. Jennifer Kligman is our guest today. And the whole point of this podcast is to get people to understand addiction and then understand that recovery is possible. And needless to say, this person was not hired to be a therapist in our outpatient program, but I think it's sad that people feel that way. Your reaction to that, Nicole?
I hope they're okay. Whatever they went through to make them feel that way, that had to be a lot. I hope they're okay.
It doesn't make you angry?
I think people don't feel like that unless something's happened to them. So whatever's happened to them must have been a lot. So yeah, I think it's wrong and a bad train of thought and not understanding the other side or, not trying to look at it. Yeah, I think all the things. I think that's pretty awful to say about other human beings, but whatever put them in the state to have to write that, it must have been pretty traumatic.
You're more understanding than I am. I applaud you for that. Jennifer is our guest, and you've gone through what this person is talking about. What's your initial reaction?
I think that's tragic because literally, kind of like Nicole said, that's really sad that someone has gone through whatever they've gone through to have that kind of a knee-jerk reaction to feel that they need to express themselves that way toward the unsheltered community or toward the people that struggle with addiction. I have personally experienced every bit of what they are describing, and I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. Addiction is a disease that comes for your soul. Like it literally doesn't care who you are, what race, creed, that you come from. It literally comes to kill you and destroy you. And it's a disease that we all, that those of us that struggle with just as much as somebody who just struggles with any other disease. And it is tragic that people look at it as something that can just be disposable, that those people don't matter, that their lives don't matter, that their stories don't matter, that they deserve a life that is less or subpar than those people that are walking the earth that pay taxes and that maybe don't struggle with addictions out loud. They don't struggle with it in the public view just because their addictions are quieter behind four walls or behind closed doors, whatever their hurts, habits, or hang-ups are that are not in the public view. Somehow they feel superior or like they're better than those of us that are maybe unsheltered or that are dealing with our addiction out loud and in the public view. And I feel that that's very sad.
Well said. So, sir, if you happen to be watching or listening, I would suggest you need some help. So,
Some processing.
Yeah.
Some perspective changing for sure.
Yeah. So, Jennifer, tell us your story. Your addiction, how long you said you were out on the street, and then we'll talk about what you're doing and why you understand as well as anyone what people are going through.
Well, I'm a mother of three, and I had started out much later in life. I didn't I didn't start messing around with anything until I was like 35 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
A
So
lot
my
of people
addiction-
we have say I started at 13 or 14.
Yeah, no, I started college when I was 15 years old. I was licensed by the Federal Communications Commission at the age of 12. My call sign was Kilo Delta 4 Victor Juliet Juliet. Like I came from a family, I was oldest of four, and I was very blessed and very privileged to be able to have a family that raised me. I was educated and came from a well-to-do family. Well, not well-to-do, but we were,
You were an achiever.
Yes, I was very blessed. I had goals and plans in my life, and I got married when I was 21 and started my family. And so I had almost finished college by the time I was with my kids, and so I'll tell you this much. Nobody wakes up one day and decides to put a needle in their arm. Nobody decides, like, I think I'm going to be a criminal today. I think I'm going to be a drug addict or a well-affluent.
I'm going to be a damn good drug addict.
Yeah, a really good drug addict. Like that's what I want to achieve in my life. That sounds like a great aspiration and a goal, So I mean, this is coming from years of trauma and years of mental health issues and anguish and just being beaten down. And finally, I mean, I had a very tumultuous marriage and divorce and situation. And after dealing with that and trying to put back the pieces of my life together with my three children, I had succumbed to my mental health issues and the trauma and everything. And I finally had just given up. And I had been telling people for so long and had been literally serving homeless addicts in Pioneer Park since my kids were in utero. This has been something I've been passionate about, giving back to our community. And I love doing that. And so something that's been near and dear to my heart for so many years. And one day I was just like, I'm done. Whatever is so amazing about these damn drugs that you guys keep doing. Why are you up for 5 days? Why do you sleep for 5 days? Why do the blinds look like the cats ran through them? What is so freaking amazing about these damn drugs? Like, what is it? Give that all to me. I want to try everything, And they're like, whoa, whoa. And I'm like, what do you mean, whoa, whoa? Like, they're like, you don't want to know how deep the rabbit hole goes. And boy, were they so correct. I had no idea what I was about ready to embark on.
What'd you start with?
Well, I had messed around with, prior to my addiction with methamphetamines, I had messed around with some cocaine and I didn't even try weed till I was 27. I mean, I had smoked some.
Bloomer.
Yeah, I had smoked some cigarettes and maybe drank a little bit of alcohol at the age of 12, but that was the extent of my partying, as a child. But yeah, I didn't smoke weed till I was 27. I waited till I was married and had children. They were all sleeping, and I did it with my husband, So, I mean, I like to ask questions and be well educated about any decision I make. So I had tried some cocaine and learned how to cook that into crack and tried that once and decided maybe that's not such a good plan for me. I like cocaine, but the whole crack thing was just like a little too intense. I was on Adderall because I do struggle with learning challenges like ADHD and such. And so I was on a decent dose of Adderall that was working for me. It wasn't too much. It was just a correct amount. When I started, I was 35 years old and my boyfriend was doing methamphetamines and he kept offering these drugs. And I was like, no, I'm good. Do you want to know what's in them? Can we just Google the ingredients to meth? Do you know what you're putting in your body? Like, this seems so counterintuitive to me, but if you want to do it, like, okay, fine, whatever, I guess you can come over as long as my kids aren't home, But then that day when I finally said I give up, Uncle, like, what is so freaking great? So I tried it and I was just like, whoa. And that started a 10-year-long battle with addiction and homelessness. Just like I said, I didn't want to know how deep the rabbit hole goes, and I found out, unfortunately. Because of a sexual assault, I was at my apartment complex by one of the maintenance men there had entered my home, and I was sexually assaulted. And so I didn't want to renew my lease. And because of that, they started the eviction process. And so I was at that point homeless. And so I turned over guardianship to my parents with my three children. And I ended up in a car
with my boyfriend at the time, which was a terrible influence, and my dog, and a whole bunch of drugs. And so I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what the street life was like, what the gang life was like. I learned very quickly, very fast, what that lifestyle was, and it traumatized me even further. And so, but I adapt pretty quickly, and I learned things, and I went places and did things I am not proud of, and they go against everything I am and every value and moral belief that I have. And I'm not proud of that, but it was survival mode at that point, and it was just everything I could do to make it from one day to the next.
Explain to perhaps the guy who wrote this, or to anybody else who thinks that, like, once you get into addiction, you said it went against all your values and everything else. Explain how that works.
It's almost like it's not a choice. It's like your brain and your heart and your life is hijacked. Like if you imagine like a plane when something very violent and very forceful comes upon you and literally takes you, like hijacks you, like literally takes you by force and says you are no longer allowed to make decisions on your own. You are going to be forced into this, or else there will be dire consequences, and you will no longer, your life is on the line. You literally don't get to choose anymore. And so the minute you put that substance into your body, and then it mixed that with the trauma and the mental health issues where you're literally almost incapable of making some of those choices. It's like, it's very difficult. It's not something that a sane-minded person or someone of rational sense would ever make choices like that. I mean, I consider myself someone who was very well-adjusted, educated, and down to earth, and capable of making good moral and ethical choices. And how could I have made some of the choices and life decisions that I had made based on how did I get there? How could I have made such terrible decisions and allowed those choices? I mean, to an extent, I allowed them, but at what point was it forced upon me? And do I give myself some grace and allow myself to say, you know what, it wasn't okay. Those things that happened to me weren't okay. And at some point, I didn't have a decision to make. And at some point, I needed someone to step in and say, I love you enough to see past your choices and see to the heart of who you are and the value that you are. And you do matter. And your life matters and your heart matters. And I want to help you get through this and help you get back to where you should be, you know, because nobody, like I said, nobody decided to just throw their lives away, you know? And so I think it takes a really compassionate mindset and attitude to see through all of the superficial circumstances and symptoms that we see every day. When you see those people that are in shelter, do you see the mental health and the schizophrenic and the reactions that people are having? They talk to themselves, or they're out there making these horrible choices to steal, and the criminal activity and the horrible things that they do that are desperations for whatever they think is going to numb or take that trauma or that pain away, that they are so deeply in pain and they have no comprehension of how to properly process that and deal with that in a healthy manner. They really truly have no basis for that. Maybe they've never understood what a healthy boundary is or what a healthy processing, way to process that is. So like, how can we help them at a very basic level, but how can we help them at a broad spectrum? How can we do more than just a Band-Aid? You know what I mean? Because it's way deeper than that.
Also, I think there's the piece of you make all these choices that are not great. And then on the flip side, you've hurt so many people. So to make a different choice means confronting all of that and doing all those things. And you feel like you deserve where you're at because you've done so many things that are wrong.
Yes.
That you're like, well, this is what I deserve and this is what I get for what I did. I don't deserve to be given a chance or to do better because look what I did.
Yeah. It feels like a self-perpetuating cycle. Like you literally live in such shame and guilt for so long. That's why I was stuck in there for so long, because I didn't know how to pull myself back out, and I didn't feel like I had the strength to do it on my own, and I didn't know how to reach out anymore. I had lost my identity. I had lost my self-worth. I had lost everything that I knew I was at one point, and just I gave up, you know, I just lost the will to fight.
And at the time, and again, this goes back to people who don't understand addiction. At the time, the decisions you're making, it happened to me, I'm sure it happened to you, the decisions you're making seem reasonable and rational at the time, right?
We think we have it all together. It totally makes sense at the time, and you look back and go, what the heck?
Self-preservation in the moment, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like I can either, what I think that person saying in that email of like, you're choosing and you're doing for your own like comfort, I think is what was said. There is discomfort. You have to come off of the alcohol. Mine was 3 or 4 months of shaking, and there's the discomfort, but more than that, it's the mental shame. So I would encourage that person to maybe look at the person they're really mad at.
Okay, so your life is dismal and terrible for 10 years. How did it turn around?
At some point, you have to decide when you're just done, like you are so tired of living that lifestyle. You know there's more. Like I know rationally, like I hadn't lost all hope. I just didn't quite know how to get back to where I was. And I knew I was in here somewhere. I just didn't know.
The real you.
The real me was in here somewhere, and I knew she was capable and I knew things were possible. I just didn't know how to find her again, and I didn't know. I knew she was in there lying dormant. I just was like waiting to love her back to life. That's the best way I can say it. You know, my ex-boyfriend would say to me, or my ex-husband would say to me, Jen, I love you to death. And I was like, babe, you know, I looked at him with tears in my eyes one day, and I was like, you know what? I love myself to death every day. I need you to love me to life today. Could you just love me to life? And so we made a point from that point on. We made a very conscious decision to say, I love you to life. And so I know that I needed to love myself to life in order to find me again. And I just got so sick and tired of being sick and tired. I knew there was another way. I knew that I was going to have to go through some serious discomfort and some changes that were going to be uncomfortable and that I wasn't going to necessarily enjoy for a while, but I knew it was going to be for the better good. And I knew it would be worth it. Anything worth doing is going to be worth it. It wasn't going to be easy, but it was going to be worth it. And I had experienced a couple of short but brief bouts of sobriety. And a week before Operation Rio Grande hit in Salt Lake City, I escaped. I escaped the city and the state and went to Vegas and got sober out of all the places you can imagine getting sober in Las Vegas.
It's like a movie, getting sober in Las Vegas.
Yes, it was just the most insane series of circumstances, but it was what God had literally planned for me, and it was so amazing. I literally escaped Salt Lake City with the clothes on my back and an empty suitcase. Like, it was insane.
With the truck there with the purpose of getting sober?
No, with a truck driver, just randomly at the Motel 6 downtown on 6 South and 2nd West. Like, I literally was a rainy September, late in September, October 1st. Like, I had come to the end of my rapidly fraying rope, and I was just done. And I mean, DONE done. Like, I had had enough. And he looked at me, and he's like, what are you doing? Would you like to come to Vegas with me? And he had his dog, Daisy, this like Labrador retriever, and this little hatchback. And he was just this happy-go-lucky truck driver, 60-year-old truck driver from freaking Washington. And he was just like, we're going on like a citywide tour, like a statewide tour, like nationwide tour. Do you want to come to Las Vegas with us? Like, screw it. Let's go to Vegas. Let's go. You know?
So many red flags. Like,
no, nothing was dangerous or impulsive about that at all. That's totally normal. What are you talking about? I didn't live that. That's fine. Everybody should just go with strangers. No, that is not that. No, that is absolutely PDA. Do not do this at home. Like, yeah.
I'm happy it worked out.
By the grace of God, like the Lord had his hand on my soul. It's not something you should be doing by any wild stretch.
You could have been dead in a ditch
I could have been dead in a ditch somewhere. That was the most...
Yes.
Random thing ever, but like I said, by the grace of God, I literally went to Vegas, got abandoned on the Strip out of all places. It was a wild series of circumstances, but I called my pastor. I had a pastor there that lived in Vegas, and he said, you need to come live with us. And I never looked back, and I stayed with him for 2 years, and I worked Celebrate Recovery steps and lived with the family from church and didn't even have a TV in the house. Like I literally I went to therapy and did the things that I needed to do to bring myself back to life, and just was very blessed and honored to live with the family there. Came back to Salt Lake City 2 years later, really strong, had my family here, and didn't know about the recovery community here. Didn't know how deep and how wide and how amazing it was. And I felt very alone and very isolated. And I unfortunately relapsed. And I was too ashamed. That shame and that guilt crept in again. And so I unfortunately went on a wild and crazy goose chase of 7-year relapse. This time I went 10 times harder than I did the first time. And I got that much deeper, pulled into the street life, to the unsheltered, and just went that much farther into it. This time, crimes that were committed, things like that caught up to me. I ended up in the county jail several times, but this most recent time was April 2024, facing some serious charges. And this time the judge had ordered me to CATS, which is an Odyssey program.
In the jail.
In the jail.
Yes.
And I was so excited to be ordered to a program. I was like, yes, send it. Because 2 weeks before I had even been put in jail, I was getting sober because I was so done. And I just didn't quite know how to get myself out of the lifestyle. And I needed that catalyst to literally just get me to the other side. And that's what had happened. And I got to complete the program and then be transitioned into Sugar House IOP. And I knew I wanted to take my life back. It was time for me to take my life back. I was a grandmother now. While I was in jail, my first granddaughter was born. And I'm, time is of the essence. Time is slipping away. That's the one thing we don't get to have.
Right.
And the memories and the things that I have lost on the streets, I don't get that time back, and I have to mourn that and grieve the loss of the time that I had with my kids, and I'm tired of grieving events and losses of time. I don't want to lose any more time. So
how long have you been in recovery now?
I'll be 17 months clean on September 1st.
Cool.
Yeah. And I fully intend to keep going with that, and to do everything in my power to be able to give back to the recovery community. And I actually would like to be working in the recovery community as a certified peer support specialist as well, and possibly going back to school to become a SETC. So we'll see what happens there.
And now you are out on the street again.
Yes, but this
But
time
in a different way.
Yes,
right?
in a very positive way. This time I've been so honored and so blessed. And this was a goal of mine. I know this sounds crazy, but when I was out on the street, these folks, the Downtown Ambassadors is an incredible program in the community. They give back. They present a safe and empowering presence in the community, a safety, and just a clean, just overall, just welcoming presence, for the citizens and the residents of Salt Lake City, and also for the unsheltered community. They provide resources. They do cleaning. They do hospitality. They do safety. All the things that I love to do, all wrapped into one job. Like the things that I'm really good at, all in one place. And while I was out there, they helped me more times than I care to admit. Like they were amazing. They just would reach out with a lending ear and a compassionate heart and just meet me where I was at. No questions asked. They didn't judge me. They just literally were there to support me in any way that they could. And so I said, one of these days, I want to be a Downtown Ambassador. I think that is like the coolest position. They had approached me a couple of times and said, you would be great in this position. And I was thinking to myself, I am like struggling with addiction and homelessness. Are you kidding me right now? And they're like, it's a second chance provider, or second chance opportunity employer. And I was like, what does that mean? They're like, if you have felonies, if you've been struggling with addiction in the past, they're willing to look past that and see what your potential is and what you can do to. And I was like, send it. That's what I want to do. And so when I was in jail, I literally was like, Lord, if this is your will, I'm going to do this thing. And sure enough, I just advocated for myself, and I continued to call them. And they put me on their callback list. And in February, they called me and said, we're hiring, and we would love to extend an opportunity for you to be one of us. And I took that opportunity and I was hired, and now I get to do outreach every single day, get to meet the unsheltered, and the friends that I literally have lived with for 10 years, I get to see on a daily basis and love them to life and get to share life, life skills and needs for them, like whether that's a meal or a resource fair or an ID or a free phone or, a treatment program, or they're really ready to get clean and they want to, come to the other side. I get that privilege and that honor of being able to shelter them and help them back, love them to life. I really get to love them to life, which is what someone did for me so many times. So it's so fulfilling and empowering, and
what's it like? So you run into people that you were on the street with.
using with every day.
What's the interaction like? Because you must look different, and obviously you have a lot more clarity and life in your eyes and everything.
People are so excited and so proud of me and so shocked. At first, they're just like, "Oh my gosh, it's you!" Like, wow! Like their eyes just light up and their just mind is blown. Like, it's Jen. Like, that's incredible. You look amazing. We're so proud of you. Holy cow! They can't believe it.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And then there's that amicability. There's that trust that's already been established. So they know when I walk up to them, it's not just some random person in a uniform. They know who I am. They know that I know where they're coming from and who they are, and their guards dropped. They're instantaneously not afraid to speak to me or allow me to reach out to them and give them resources and whatever. And it is pretty shocking at first. They're just like, a lot of people look at me and they say, and this is so humbling to me, but they're like, "You are such an incredible inspiration to us. Like, we love you. And if you can do it, we can do it too. Like, your story is so powerful. And we're so thankful that you come back out here and that we get to see you and what you've done and how you're living every day. Like, that's an incredibly powerful thing. And thank you for doing that. And thank you for continuing to live your truth." And something Toby Mac said to me one time, and this is one of my favorite quotes. He said, "Never be afraid to share your story, because it might be the key to unlocking someone else's prison."
Sure.
It is so true. I think that's one of my most favorite quotes ever.
Pretty impressive, huh?
Yeah, I've seen her in action.
Oh, have you?
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people have seen me go from ground crazy Jen. They used to call me Crazy Jen on the streets, and then they see
Crazy Jen.
Crazy Jen is no longer crazy. She's now sane and calm and
now she's crazy in a positive way.
In a positive way, yeah.
Wow.
Crazy for life. And
I appreciate you telling this story. Yeah. And, sir, if you, who wrote the letter, are watching, if you had not been afforded the love and the support and the method of getting there, you could be dead now.
Yeah,
right?
I would be, absolutely. There are so many chances and reasons why I shouldn't be here. I look every day, I thank God for my sobriety, and I thank God for my life. And for those of us that didn't make it, those are my friends that I literally have had to go to their funerals and mourn because they suffered in silence and nobody saw their life as a value, because they had to live under a bridge without running water and with dirty sleeping bags because their lives didn't matter. And those people died in silence. I'm going to recover as loudly as possible so that they didn't have to die for nothing.
Thank you for what you do, and thank you for sharing your story. It's a hell of a story.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Good to see you again, Nicole.
You too.
And thank you for watching or listening to another edition of Odyssey House Journals.